she had a staff assistant with an umbrella to keep her out of the sun and a spray bottle with Evian to mist her face.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I thought that was in my rider.
I'm like, who are these people?
Wasn't that in my rider that I need a spray bottle of Mr.?
We didn't really deliver for you.
Blue M&Ms.
I'll have somebody follow me around with an umbrella.
Oh my gosh, we're low tech here. We're analog. Okay, are we ready? All right, well, the stress is kind of bunching up, but we're good. How do we look balanced and everything? This is so weird, I know. Welcome everyone to the Slow Flowers Podcast Live, our first ever live audience podcast, and our wonderful first guest, Briana Selstad Bosch of Blossom and Branch.
Yay.
Thanks for being here.
Hi, we never get to do this and just sit and talk.
No, we
so
don't.
Excited.
We don't. This is something we decided to do when the Flower Show offered me the use of this room, and we're going to interview 4 Slow Flowers members over the course of 4 days, all of whom are here to speak and who have new books. And we're starting with Briana, and this is her brand new book, The Regenerative Gardener's Handbook, and I believe it's sold out downstairs.
I think so.
But you can check this out afterwards. Regenerative is a hard word to say.
It is a hard word to say. You're right. Regenerative.
And how do you say that in French?
And especially regenerative. C'est une bonne question. Je ne sais pas. Regenerative gardener together is especially hard to say. Regenerative gardener. Yeah.
And we're going to get into all kinds of questions, but I will just say I listened to the first half of Briana's talk this morning, and you did a good job of defining how regenerative is not organic.
Right.
And do you want to just touch on that right now, and then we'll dive in?
Sure. Yeah, I think regenerative gets thrown around often as a buzzword because it is something that people are looking for and are learning a lot about and has a lot of good marketing behind it. And so we're starting to hear a lot of maybe growers who are no-till or who don't use chemicals using the word regenerative, but really regenerative encompasses a much wider scale of things like actively trying to sequester carbon in the soil through things like cover cropping, ideally integrating livestock, ideally, there's multiple things, fostering ecosystems that go into that regenerative idea. And of course, there's the social aspect of regeneration, which is community building is part of that too. So
that's so much a part of your mission anyway.
Yeah.
So biodynamic, where does that fall in the word salad of?
Yeah, I'd say, a lot of people utilize that within the regenerative space. And we go into a little bit of some of that stuff in the book, but really the main takeaway that I want, especially for home growers, but also for small market farmers, is that a lot of those same benefits you can get by applying regenerative practices, and maybe you can skip some of the more complicated things. So we tried to, I don't know who we is, it's just me.
Regenerative light.
I tried to make it as accessible as possible, to a wide range of growing.
Well, this is question number 4, but I'm going to just follow your thread. Because when we started working on the Flower Farmers book, which was 2 years ago, you told me that you were working on this book for Story, and was it Story Press, right? And I was expecting you to tell me that you were going to do a book on flower farming. And then I was surprised to see that you were really taking all of the practices from Blossom and Branch, a flower farm, to the home gardener. So talk about how was that a hard pitch to the publisher, or?
No, when they reached out, I think they initially were looking for something more flowers, but I never started Blossom and Branch, the account, to be like, that I don't consider myself an influencer. I don't do brand deals. I don't do that kind of partnered sponsorship stuff. I really started it because I just wanted to share about my flowers. And then just more and more people started seeing it, and then they were like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And then as I was diving into some of these more regenerative things, more and more people wanted to know about it. And so the account really kind of turned from flower farming and turned into, how can I teach people to do this? Because people want to do this in their own backyard. And so it kind of became that way. Obviously, there's lots of pictures of flowers in there, and flowers are a huge piece of it because we talk a lot about native flowers in particular.
It's like the doorway for people, right?
Yeah. It's like the little, and then you can dive down further into the rabbit hole later, but.
I always like to quote some friends of mine who were involved in the early days, Susan, you might remember this, of Seattle water conservation, trying to, they actually had a campaign called Brown is Beautiful to teach people to let their lawns go brown in the summer, and that was a beautiful thing to do because you weren't wasting so much water. And that kind of reverse psychology is sort of this, you're leading with beauty and then hooking them, it's almost like a social engineering. You're hooking people with understanding there's all kinds of definitions of beauty, and a healthy planet and a healthy ecosystem is just as important as a beautiful flower.
Right, and the inner reward that you get from you know, the knowledge of the way that you're doing it is maybe in a better way for the ecosystem, I think is, and that's a message that I hear from a lot of people who have read the book is like, wow, this really changed the way that I think about my garden, which is what I wanted to do. You know, I think the whole first chapter is frames like, you have to totally reframe, like go into this book and brain dump everything that you knew about gardening because this looks very different.
Right, I love it. You mentioned that you did kind of change a little bit of course in terms of your core message or mission partway down the path. And so let's talk about that. You started your farm in 2018?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know, when you and I first met, it was probably around 2019 or 2020, just social media-wise. But talk about what you thought your farm was going to be when you originally started, and then when did that turning point happen?
Yeah, I had grandiose visions of, you know, duplicating some of the very famous, a lot of them around this area, actually, the Pacific Northwest flower farms. And so that's where I learned, that's where I was watching social media, that's kind of what I had in my head. So I started a lot of my practices in a very similar fashion.
I think we all do some of that.
Yeah, right, because I mean,
no one inspires you.
Yeah, and no one goes into flower farming like knowing how to flower farm. You know, so you just watch other people do it and kind of interpret that. And, you know, I started doing it, I think it was year 2. It was year 2, and I started noticing, you know, how much just in what I was doing, how much the life was coming back around my farm. And my neighbors started noticing it, and they'd be like, oh, you know, I saw this bird, like I haven't seen these birds around for years, and they started seeing all this activity. So I started paying a little bit more attention, and it was the day, I won't forget it, it was the day that I was cleaning up something in the field, and I look over, and there's this bird's nest in the maple tree that's right on the corner of my field. And I went over, and I was kind of peeking at it, and I noticed there's a piece of landscape fabric in the nest, woven in, and I was like, oh, and all of a sudden, I was like, wait a second.
I love that connection.
Yeah, it was a moment of that, and actually I think there's a picture of it in the book, but there was that moment of, maybe I should start looking at these practices and thinking about, is there maybe a different way to do this? Because we had horrible weed pressure. I mean, it's not like we walked into some pre-established farm or some beautiful, you know, lawn setting that was like free of weeds. We had bindweed and thistle and buckthorn and poison hemlock and all kinds of horrible weeds.
Had it been a pasture or a grazing land, or what had it been?
It was a pasture, it had been an orchard, it had been a tractor repair property. So I tilled an entire muffler out of my field before. I was like, that's a...
Surprise!
Yeah, so no, and then for 30 years, but after that, it had just been totally overgrown.
Okay.
And
then you inherited that.
Yep.
And that can't be fixed overnight. And I know you've talked about the fact that you did use landscape fabric initially just to kind of fight the fight against weeds. You never use chemicals.
No, well, so we talk about that in the book a little bit. Yeah, definitely we did almost all landscape fabric the first 2 years. In fact, if I have pictures of the second year of the farm, it was literally like every square inch, you know, pathways, top, all of it. And I hated, you know what, I also hated aesthetically that. The aesthetics of landscape fabric kill me. And I know it's just, I try also not to like shame that because sustainability is about human sustainability too.
Right.
So if
There's
you just
a continuum.
Yeah, if you're just one of those people, you're like, I just don't have time to, I have to use the landscape fabric. I get it. But for me, aesthetically, when I'd have people to the farm, I do agritourism as well, I was like, oh, there's just, it didn't feel right to me. And so that's when I started kind of tackling that issue. But yes, I did use a lot of it.
So now you use I know we're jumping all around, but you use wood chips or mulch? Or
Depends on the crop. For anything that's an annual, we use something that has a faster degradation, so that's going to break down more rapidly. So things like pine shavings or pine straw, which is just pine needles. Mulch leaves is my favorite. Pretty much anything we have on hand, I'll use.
Are you making your own then?
I usually take it in from the neighborhood.
Oh,
so yeah,
arborists and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll post in the fall that we're taking leaves, and everyone drops their bags at the farm, and so I usually end up with, I think it's like 350 bags a year, that we.
That's awesome.
And I just haul all the bags to the back, and I just leave them. I don't mulch. I just leave them in the back, and then in the spring, I take them out, and then we use them to mulch all around the plants. So it's free mulch for me, which is great.
And a service to the community.
And a service, yeah. And it gets people also knowing where we are. It kind of facilitates that whole community idea. So that's probably my favorite. For pathways, we usually do something that breaks down slower, like wood chips.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There are so many. If you guys haven't watched Briana's YouTube channel, there are so many fabulous hacks and tips that I don't know, you're just try everything, and maybe you're researching old world methods and trying to revitalize them.
Yeah.
That the homesteaders used to do, or there's a combination of that plus just your own gumption.
Yeah, combination of both.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff has just come out of me being like, there's got to be a better way to do this, and just getting frustrated and figuring it out. Like the wood trays is an example. Soil blocks are great, and as a farmer, I love soil blocks because it's my full-time job to tend seedlings. But for a home gardener, sometimes soil blocks can be a little bit intimidating because they dry out quickly. So
that's true. If you're working outside of the home, you can't be watering them every day.
Right, and this is just something, again, that I've learned as I've been doing this and working with people one-on-one. And so the wood tray came about kind of as a different alternative for people who want to do plastic-free seed starting, but they can't tend a soil block, maybe sometimes multiple times a day. And that's something they used to do in the horticultural industry pre-plastic. They grew in a wood tray, they'd scoop it out, they'd wrap it in damp burlap and send it home, or newspaper, and that's how it was done,
So describe the wood tray for people who are listening and not watching this podcast. Is it you build your own?
Yeah, so usually I'll source scrap cedar when people are taking down old raised beds or something. There's tons of them on Craigslist, or even old fencing, as long as it's not treated with stained or painted. And then I just build a box. I mean, it really can be any size. Depends on what you're growing in there. And then I usually line it with wool in the bottom just to help a little bit with moisture retention. And then when the roots get down there, they've got some nitrogen, because wool is that slow release nitrogen, which is another thing that I was literally just fell upon that because we had the sheep.
I was just like, where's the wool coming
from?
from?
We had the sheep, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna spin this. Let's be real. In my ideal world, I'd spin some wool.
You come across as very folksy, but not that far.
I carded for 5 minutes. I was like, okay, that's it. So then I was like, I need another use for this wool. And of course, a lot of people mulch with wool, but no one at that time was really seed starting with wool.
Yeah,
and so I just do these trials, and oh my gosh, the seeds that I start with wool, I never have to fertilize them because it's built into the mix.
That's crazy.
And even when I go to plant them into the ground, they still have it in the soil, and because it's such a slow breakdown, like a 6-month breakdown for that wool, I don't have to, it breaks down my fertilizing. So I'm taking care of multiple steps in one process.
So when after the seeds have started, it's sort of like a sheet cake.
Yeah, it's like a chocolate cake.
Okay, and then you're breaking it into little root ball chunks, and the wool may be stuck on the bottom. It's okay, just plant it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yep, and you can do the same thing. I mean, so if you didn't do it during the seed starting step, you can take a little chunk of, and just raw. It's just raw, unprocessed, unwashed. Doesn't have to be clean wool.
Yeah, probably more raw the better.
Better, exactly, because actually there's some research that potentially the lanolin in the wool is also good for the plants. So you can just take a little tuft of it and put it in the bottom of your planting hole as you're planting your plugs or what have you. And
I love it. Make friends with your neighbors who are sheep farmers.
Yeah,
Any of you guys have access to sheep?
And actually anything else, like alpaca works as well. So truly any hair will work. So dog hair will also work in theory.
And I shed.
Yes,
so I should
human
just
hair.
save my hair.
Just start. Deborah's going to be pulling out her hairbrush.
It'll be so light, lovely and white.
Like a silver
My husband will be so relieved. It's like every black garment we own.
just shedding.
That is really cool. Okay, so that's a good example of something that I didn't know you were doing. The thing that I learned when we were working on the Flower Farmer book that you taught me was this jute netting, and maybe I'm not describing it right. Is it jute or hemp?
It's jute, yeah.
Okay, and that...
I think it comes in hemp as well.
So many people are using that plastic netting.
Yeah,
and you've...
Not to name the brand, the
Yeah.
plastic netting.
Yeah, it's like me saying foam and not oasis.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the netting, how did you come upon an alternative to the plastic?
So that was the same, it was one of those same moments, right, where you're like rolling it up, and every grower has been there, right, at the end of the season, and you're rolling it up, and like probably it's been snipped a couple times, or it's like breaking down, and so it's ripping as you're pulling it up, and you just know, you're like, I'm throwing away this giant wad of plastic, and then in the back of your head, you're thinking about all those cans. Remember the aluminum cans? And they'd be like, snip each thing so that a bird or turtle doesn't get stuck in it.
The six-pack plastic thing. Yeah.
So I'm rolling it up, and I'm thinking, like, should I be cutting all of these open so that something doesn't get stuck in it if it ends up somehow falls out of the, you know,
oh my gosh, you're like a National Geographic disaster movie.
Just thinking about like this, exactly. Picturing all the turtles stuck in it. So I'm rolling it up and I'm bagging it, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's gotta be, and I know you can reuse it to an extent.
But maybe only for a year or two, right?
Yeah, it breaks down. I mean, it's UV and plastic, that's what happens. So I stumbled upon it's Conscious Gardeners, I think, sells it, but it's a jute hemp netting, comes in the same, it's a 4-foot width. So I usually have a little extra on the sides. I had to kind of learn how to tweak it a little bit. So I usually apply that netting. It does stretch a little bit. So when it gets wet, it flexes. So I've learned that I pull it as tight as I can when I'm putting it on. And then even after it like rains the first time, I'll have to come through one more time and maybe tighten cinch it up. And then after that, it's fine for the season. And it's broken down. So when I go, it's actually really nice because when I go to clean up the field, I can just pull it and it like rips into pieces and I just throw it in the compost pile with everything else.
Because it's 100% organic.
Yep.
You know what makes me think of is we bought a builder's special home and it promptly ripped out all the lawn. And when you're ripping out, you know, turf grass or sod, for years you're finding that mesh plastic backing.
Yeah.
When you're planting a new tree or something.
It's everywhere. And what I say about plastic and gardening or farming is, so when you're looking at like microplastic breakdown, right, the ingredients for that are UV rays, heat, and moisture. And those are the things that we have when we're growing or farming or seed starting, gardening, you know. So it's a recipe for, and there's more research that's come out in this last year around how, you know, for a while we thought, well, it just breaks down or it's not really leaching that much into the soil. Now we're really learning, there was just one study with like tomatoes and how it really impacts the plant's ability to photosynthesize.
Because of the plastic?
Because of the plastic in the soil.
Wow.
And and you know, I mentioned the piece I could see in the bird netting, but really what's happening is it's tiny pieces. Like, you know, if I'm wearing a polyester shirt, it's shedding onto you. I mean, it's pieces that we don't see. Yeah. But it will be forever there in the soil, and it's just compounding every year. You know, it's not something that goes away over time. So
you're putting all these ideas out in your YouTube channel. Are you filming a full episode or little? I mean, I see different links. You do some are shorts, and what's your practice?
I like that you think that I have a plan,
a TV show.
I'll just be like, okay, I have an hour before I have to pick up the kids from school. What should I?
Well,
and then can I use that footage?
That's refreshing because that's what everybody's got a family that they have to tend to. So
I do try to duplicate. So if I'm filming like a YouTube video, then I'll try to catch some footage that I know, like, okay, this will translate well to something short, but because you try
like 90 seconds or something.
Yeah, because on, you know, social, you can only give so much information before people are like, I need more. But yeah, it's like, but you need to like just capture their attention, and then they're on to something else.
So in that way, I'm assuming that if some people are finding you from your Instagram feed, and then they want more, and then they somehow follow the link and see that there's more on YouTube.
Yeah, so there's like the extended explanation.
And then the other way, people are just finding, because a lot of people use YouTube as their Google search, right?
Right.
And so your keywords are what hook them.
Right.
That's crazy.
That's the idea.
So in 2025, for the Slow Flowers Summit online, you taught a course for us I think we called it like Building a Sustainable Brand or something like that. It was fantastic. And you packed it with so much information. And I kind of thought that was like the perfect 1-hour case study for how you built your business. But did you have a business plan, or like how did you get to where you are now?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
So I do have a background in marketing.
You have an MBA.
I have my MBA. Yeah,
Very highly educated.
From the before days. I think I've had 6 careers now. You know, I don't know.
Women do.
Ballet dancer to 19 different things. But yes, I have my MBA, and so I used that. Not the first year. The first year I was just like, let's see. Do I like to grow flowers? And I think a lot of us do that. And then as you learn, okay, yes, I can grow flowers, or I like growing flowers. And then drilling down into, okay, now let's focus on what are my strengths, both as a grower and as a business person.
An entrepreneur, yeah.
What is my market? What is my region like? What is my immediate area? Do I have opportunity for retail or weddings, or should I be more wholesale? And then drilling down into, okay, well, based off that now, what's my messaging? What are the things I'm passionate about? And weaving all of that together, I think is really important, especially in farming, because people want to know their farmers. They want to know their growers. It's true of flowers just as much as it is for vegetables.
Right. So you become a storyteller.
Yeah.
How does your pie slice up now then? And, you know, by the way, she also has 2 small children. They're a little older now.
10 and 7, yep.
But they're
9.
Are they still homeschooling? Or are you still homeschooling?
We stopped homeschooling this year because my oldest wanted to go back to school. So we're trying a year. She likes it. My littlest one hates it. She's an introvert like me. But
but still, you had a lot on your plate.
We homeschooled, before that, we did.
And so the business has evolved, and when I've interviewed you in the past, you've talked about like weddings don't exist in your portfolio anymore unless they come and buy a bucket from you? Or?
Very simple, very simplistic weddings. Yeah. So and it's all very clear on the website. I don't do any back and forth because any flower farmer knows like how you can spend hours with the customer and maybe they don't even end up going with you at the end of the day. But talking about different shades of pink, you know, and you're like trying to explain to them that I don't know what shade of salmon it's going to be. It depends on what the heat is like, blah blah blah. And so now we just say on the website, like, you get whites and greens and kind of blushy neutrals. I call it blushy neutrals. Or you get bright and colorful. And those are the 2 palettes. And if you care beyond that, then I'm not the gal for you.
Okay.
And so it's great because it targets a certain kind of bride. She tends to not, or he, you know, they tend to not care that much.
And then that becomes designer's choice, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's that option, too. Farmer's choice, which is a little bit cheaper because I can just be a little bit whatever. No one's ever been unhappy. No one's ever hated it. And yeah, we don't do installs. We don't do all that because leaving the farm it's hard to make it profitable. And so we just do everything has got to be pickup. And from there, if they want to do anything, we'll kind of give them a little help and instruction and talk them through it a little bit.
Or maybe there's some video on YouTube that they can watch that you did 5 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
So the pie has the weddings Briana style, fitting your terms and what fits you.
Probably pretty small.
And then education is a big part of it. And,
Education's a big part.
And are you monetizing education?
To an extent. Obviously the book. We do some online courses, again, mostly geared at gardeners. I've been looking into maybe doing a regenerative flower farming course for next year.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think it'd be
you
really
could just
fun.
turn the book into an online course, right?
Right.
And then people would have the chance to do interactive
more in
Q&A.
depth. Yeah, exactly. It'd be more in depth, more guided.
Yeah, let us know when that happens.
I have to summon the energy. But a lot of workshops, and then also U-Picks. So we used to do an on-farm market, and we just have learned that people really want to be, again, this is all about like strengths and weaknesses of the farm. We're close to urban, so it's easy for people to get there. We have a fairly aesthetic space now, especially since we're not using landscape fabric. We have a message that connects to people so they want to come to the farm.
And you have a beautiful cottage where people can, or the workshop
barn.
area, the barn area.
Yep. And so it just works well that people can come and have more of an experience and do a U-Pick, and they really enjoy doing that. And so that is also much easier for us because we don't have to harvest and bunch, and there's things that come along with that too. But
and when you said on-farm sales, that was like your farm stand, right?
Right.
And were you just doing that on the weekends? Or?
Just one day a week.
Okay.
Yep. And it would just be, come and grab your flowers. This is what we have. Usually we do pre-sale because they would sell out So it was, I mean, it's great. And we still will do that for our regular customers. They'll still send me a message and be like, can I come grab a bouquet? Yeah, fine.
But the U-Pick is way less labor for you.
Way less labor, and we can charge a little bit more.
Because they're getting the experience.
They're getting the experience, and they want to pay for it, and they sell out.
And how many do you do a summer, and what is your pricing structure?
Usually every other week, depending on the bloom season, like July is peak, so then we'll do sometimes every week, and depending on how many weddings we have. And then pricing structure, we just do a flat fee for a jar. So basically a mason jar with a wide mouth.
Yep.
I have a few jars on hand, but usually I just say, bring your own jar. You know you have 1 million jars in your cupboard, just bring one.
That's actually smart.
Yeah. Well, because then it also the message, right, of sustainability. Like, why should we buy more jars? Everyone has one. And then it's just a flat fee. They can come, if they want to bring their kid, that's fine. It's not an additional price. It's all just one jar is what they pay for.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. You have blown me away this year by telling me how many trips to Paris you've had, and how I find out about what you're doing is social media, really.
Well, so kind of all of us.
So how has this international thing happened?
So it's so funny. So my sister, I think I told you, my sister passed away a couple of years ago, and there was a gal who found me on social media through that. And she does like women's wellness. Her name is Cleo, and she lives in the UK, and she's phenomenal. And she does like kind of perimenopause and like women's health groups and mental health stuff. And she reached out to me and she was like, would you ever want to teach a gardening workshop in France? And I was like,
wait, she's in the UK, but she teaches.
She's in the UK, so she lives in the UK, but they own this manoir in France.
Okay.
And she just hosts retreats there. So she does a lot of like yoga retreats, mindfulness, and I said, of course. I had never left the country. I had wanted to leave. I've never been off the continent really, and so at my age, which will remain nameless, I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
I love it.
And so I did, and it sold out. It was phenomenal.
Was it last year?
That was this past April.
Okay.
And was it just this last year? Yeah. And then we did another one in September because that one sold out. And I have one coming up next month in Paris. So now we're doing a Paris-centric theme. So that one's going to be more around the gardens of Paris, looking at the garden style, looking at the flowers, and going to Giverny's, to Monet's gardens, Versailles. So we kind of do like look at different, I mean, it's
That's
horrible.
why you've gone a few more times, because you've been doing some pre-research.
Yes, yeah, because I need to know, I really need to know the area, and then I'm also learning French because I just feel like I should if I'm doing that. And then we're doing one more coming up in September that I'm really excited for at a new chateau. And we're doing, morning is all like hands-on, so they have an orchard that they're establishing. This place was built in, like 1270, the chateau. It's historic, so
not like what you might have in Colorado.
No, not quite. I think it sleeps like 26. They've totally redone all the inside. It's just gorgeous. But they're doing like orchard, so I've been helping them kind of with figuring out, orchard management and cover cropping. And so the mornings will be all hands-on gardening, workshops, pruning, dividing, that kind of thing. And then the afternoon is something French. So wine tasting, cheese making, beekeeping, animal husbandry courses, and they're all taught by kind of the farmers and artisans in that area around the chateau. So that one's fun because if someone's not like a super intense gardener, doesn't want to maybe garden all day on their vacation.
Pay to garden, pay to weed.
Exactly. And there's something else for them to do in the afternoon.
That's wonderful because all of the things you've described in the morning are it's a case study for the regenerative practices, and the owners. This is the same woman that you're working with.
This
or
is a different
venue?
couple. So they're from because the woman who owns the old venue actually was selling it. So we were like, didn't know if we wanted to schedule anything for this year. But they're from the Netherlands, and so very also similarly minded in terms of,
they support.
They tend
what
to be
you're
a
gonna
little
teach.
more a little more regenerative.
Well, this is why it's good that you're not trying to go to the farmer's market every Saturday with your buckets, because you've got this new chapter that you're building for your business.
Right. Well, and thankfully I have my right-hand lady, Savannah, has been with me for 6 years. So I have, a couple people who are constantly helping us and I know I can count on for anything, you know. So if anything goes awry, or like, oh my gosh, I forgot a wedding, which just happened. I was on the way back from our Minnesota farm, and I get a call, and she's like, I'm here for my wedding flowers. You know how your heart just drops?
Yeah. Everybody's had that problem.
Oh my gosh. And thankfully my farmhand was there. Well, she was in town, and so she rushed over, and I mean, we gave her tons of extra flowers, so it was fine. But yes, I have someone who will be able to man the farm, which is, I'm really grateful for.
I love that you're evolving. Like back in 2018, you never thought you were going to be going in this direction.
And I talk about it in the branding course. You know, it's every year as a business person, especially as a farmer, especially as a flower farmer, we have to pivot, right? We've done it through COVID. We did it through multiple different things where everyone's like, okay, well, now what do we do? No one's having weddings. Okay, I guess I'll sell seedlings or bouquet or something. We all figured something out.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of any business, but you know, especially I think with this, because it's so prone to burnout.
Yeah.
With flower farmers, it's easy to get burned out. And if you can look at it and be like, okay, this year I really did not enjoy doing this, but maybe I really like doing that, so I'm gonna ramp this up, or there's an opportunity there for me to do something else, then I think that's good business personship.
You know, I really do too. I think we have to give ourselves permission to change and not, you know, and also like walk away from something that doesn't give you joy and that isn't working.
Yes.
I have a friend who has a motto, let it be easy, and I'm like, yeah. If it feels like work, then why am I doing it?
Right, and most flower farmers don't go into this because they're like, wow, I really want a job that feels like a grind. You know, we do. I mean, obviously, we all know it's going to be a lot of work, but you still want it to be fulfilling and beautiful and happy and joyous. And when it stops being that, and I think we've all been there, you know, I think it's like year 4 or 5, usually when it hits most people, and that's when it's like, if you don't tackle it then it's hard. It's so hard to come back once you hit that burnout stage. So yeah, doing that constant, like, okay, well, maybe we'll go a little bit this way this year and a little bit that way next year. And
no, it's good advice. It's good advice, and I know you take your own advice. And I think that losing your sister might have been a really powerful time for you to stop and ask those tough questions. Because I remember you lost her in 2024?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago next month. Yep.
Okay, yeah, because you were going to come to the summit in Banff, and you just, I'm so sorry you lost such a dear person. And,
thanks.
Maybe she's with you, urging you on now.
Yeah, she gave me my first dahlia tuber, which is my sister did.
You and Misty have a similar story. Wow.
Aww.
Wow, that's amazing. What was her name?
Karina. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, and look what it led to. You obviously spoke about losing her on social media at some point, and that's how this woman reached out to you to do the workshops, right?
And I never even really, I'm not even sure how she saw it, but, or she was
it
following
wasn't
me
like
from before.
You weren't
because I
doing a
never
big thing.
posted anything about it, but yeah, maybe it was something just more like mental health. I think at that time, maybe I was posting a lot about like taking a step back and you know, seeing in yourself like, okay, maybe now is the time when I need to kind of focus on myself for a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I think we've all been there. And
well, we have so much to learn from the garden, and I guess before we wrap up, I took notes while you were speaking this morning. I couldn't stay for more than the first half hour, but there are a couple things that jumped out at me. I want to just like lightning round.
Yeah.
Okay. That one of your chapters in the book is minimize the purchased garden. I found that so profound, and you did allude to that in the talk this morning about the cultivated plant versus the seeded plant. So I would love to have you just expand on that a little bit, because I think there's some takeaway for everyone here.
Yeah, and you know, just like anything, gardening has been made very commercial.
We're here at the garden show.
It's the capitalist society that we live in, you know, and that's reality. But I think there is something very powerful in just taking a step back and realizing that all of these things existed right before before we had all of the goods that we can buy now to help us along. And
like for millennia.
Right.
How have people grown food?
Well, exactly. And when we look at the wood trays, it's the same thing. And actually, like, my plants that I grow in those trays far surpass anything else that I ever grow. So, you know, I think minimizing, obviously we're never going to fully eliminate buying everything in, but as much as possible, just learning how to work with what we have.
Yeah. Yeah, but you I'm sure you can't do it all at once, but over time, you're questioning your purchases and questioning your practices and trying to be as resilient and resourceful on your own property.
Which saves money too, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like the whole seed starting versus buying plugs thing, right? Like, I'm not hating on plugs. I've certainly still bought some in my last few years as well, but you know, whenever possible, is way cheaper, right, to start from seed. Obviously, we have to factor in our time and all that kind of thing, but also just knowing what's gone into that soil, what's gone into it. I think there's a lot of, there's unspoken benefit there too, you know, and just knowledge, just the knowledge that you gain when you do learn how to grow something from seed.
And Briana, if one happens to own a video camera, you're gonna seed that stuff anyway. You might as well just film yourself doing it.
Exactly. Film yourself doing it. Who knows who's gonna want to? I mean, yeah, shit. That's how you know most people that I follow started. They're like, oh, I'll just show how I do this, and maybe you're a really good teacher. Maybe you have something you can share with your community. Maybe you can start teaching, you know, folks in your neighborhood. It doesn't have to be some big fancy thing. Just okay, we're gonna do a get together, and that's something we've been trying to do, especially given. You didn't get to hear my powerful ending statement this morning.
Oh, I know, I missed it. Tell me what it is. Lay it on us.
I've got it here. I can read it if you'd like.
We'd like to.
But one of the things I talk about is like just start something with your neighbors. Just get something going with your little community, so that you have some resilience, someone to talk to. I think we're really missing that these days.
Yeah.
And
if you have
maybe it's just like a seed starting. Maybe it's just seed starting club.
So this is your manifesto.
This is my manifest. This is my closing argument.
Okay.
This morning. Okay, so I'll read it. All right. There have been many moments, I'm sure, in history where it feels everything is unraveling all at once. Hope feels fragile at its best and non-existent at worst. But I don't think having hope is naive. I believe hope is cultivated. And if you want to understand what hope is like, plant a native flower. A native seed doesn't need the perfect soil, constant intervention, imported inputs, or control. It grows because it is meant to. It recognizes the soil, speaks the language of the insects, responds to the light and the wind. In a time when so many of us feel small in the face of systems that seem too large to influence, growing native flowers is a reminder. Ecosystems are restored by relationships, by mindfulness, by thousands of small individual decisions made over and over again. When you plant native milkweed, you're not just planting a pretty flower. When you replace a patch of non-native lawn with a meadow, you are showing beauty and resilience can coexist. None of us can single-handedly rewrite a global climate narrative, but we can rewrite the story of our own square of Earth. A story of the right plants bringing back our native pollinators, the birds returning, the balance shifting, and with it, we see the return of hope, even if just in our own backyards.
What a wonderful way to end.
I wrote it down like I haven't written, my hand was cramping.
We were talking, did you write that on the plane flying back from Paris?
It's like I can't sleep, so I'm
that is so beautiful, and thank you so much, because that's a wonderful way to end this conversation. But I want to open it up to see if anyone has questions for you. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will probably repeat the question because we don't have a microphone for folks. Misty.
You talked about using wool. I'm allergic to lanolin.
Yeah.
Would that be a problem?
Well, so you could either wear gloves when you're using it.
Repeat the question. Just
so the question was, she's allergic to wool, so can she use it still? Yeah, I mean, if she's allergic to lanolin. Yeah, so the lanolin, if you wear gloves and like sleeves, you should be fine. Or you could get wool that's been washed. So when they hot wash it, usually the most of the lanolin gets washed off.
My neighbor
or you could use an alternative. Yeah, because your neighbor has sheep. Yeah, so
as well.
I mean, I would mask and sleeve and glove, and then I would think you'd be fine, because this really, I mean, it takes a lot of.
On my skin.
it's a contact issue.
Yeah.
Okay, let us know, Misty.
That's too bad though, because I love when
This year, maybe next year.
Yeah, it's a little late.
Anybody else have a question? Yes, Susan.
I just want to say, I love how your story is evolving, and you're following the little breadcrumbs as they, because that's sort of the life I've been adopting, and so I'm just excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think manifesting is like a funny, it's like kind of, it's like sounds very woo-woo, because I don't manifest anything, I don't like, I'm not like trying to make any of this stuff happen, but you have to just, maybe listen to, okay, something's trying to give me a message here, right? Maybe I was supposed to see that piece of plastic in the bird's nest, there are all these little things, but do we take the time to listen to it, because we're all so busy and so overwhelmed all of the time, and so maybe it's a little bit of slowing down and thinking more mindfully about where we're going. Yeah.
I love that. Kenzie.
Do you have any tips for tightening up jute netting? We really struggle here in the Pacific Northwest.
Can you
how
repeat that
wet
question?
it
'Cause I
is.
can't.
It just sags.
Yeah, so the question was about tightening up the jute netting, because yeah, it sags when it gets wet. So what are you using are you using T-posts? So it's so hard to describe. When I'm putting it on, what I do is I angle the T-post a little bit in. So it's almost like it's easier if you have someone on the other side doing it. So as you're pulling it on, your side is gonna, because you really want it like
You want that
super
tension.
taut. Yeah, so it's like you're barely gonna be able to get it over, let it snap back. And then yeah, once it gets wet that first time, you might need to come along with a wire, or I mean, if you need to use zip ties, use a zip tie, and then just retighten it with the zip tie. Once you do that second tighten, usually it's fine after that, but you really have to feel like, you gotta feel like you're almost gonna rip it when you're putting it on the first time, especially if you're used to working with plastic. Now that I'm on the 3rd year of using it, it works much better, and I'm able to really, because I know how much I can also tug on it. I'm hoping that there's gonna be, I wanna say that the one that I use is jute. I'm hoping that there's one that's hemp coming out soon.
It's not as stretchy.
The hemp, I know. Well, the hemp is much stronger, so I don't think it would have quite as much give. But you could also try putting a T-post in the middle and see if, instead of just on the 2 sides, and see if by using that, then you just attach it to the one in the center, if that would help give it a little extra, because I know what you mean with the sag, yeah.
I just want to comment that one of our members, Colleen, who owns Songbird Seed Company here in the Pacific Northwest, is using it for her sweet pea seeds. So she's developing an 8-foot wide
Nice.
jute, but it's not going horizontal like you're
Right, it
describing.
goes
It's going to
vertical.
vertical, and maybe that probably has the same issues.
It might, yeah, when it gets really wet. But again, the sweet peas, you don't have to worry. So, like, if it's floppy, whatever,
Yeah.
as long as it has something to climb up, it's okay, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Susan, then I'll finish with a question.
Yeah, I don't know if when you first had said the jute netting, or the jute, I was thinking soil stabilizing jute.
Oh,
Oh, like a mesh, maybe.
Like
Yeah.
replacing bird netting, it's a type of a.
Yeah, so in growing, we use it kind of just to keep like tall things like snapdragons from
It has
flopping.
open,
It has, yeah, like usually a 6 by,
grid.
6 by 6 open grid.
And
Exactly.
she's placing it like maybe 20 to 30 inches above the ground so that the stems stay vertical.
got it.
Yeah. You alluded to your other farm in Minnesota, and I knew you had it, and it's somehow in the family. And I'd love to, if you care to, would you care to share about it?
Sure.
And then the photo you showed of the wheat this morning with the ornamental flowers between the rows.
So
That was crazy.
yeah. So we have, that's a century farm now. I think in 2 years it's a century farm, which means it's been in our family for 100 years. And my dad grew up there, and his dad grew up there, and they both farmed there. And so I'm technically a 5th generation farmer.
I know, and that's why, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but it's conventional row crops. And so part of why I do what I do, and part of learning a lot of this stuff about cover cropping, is because I've been wanting to implement it and scale it up. And what I hear all the time on social media is, well, you're just some girl, you don't know, you can't scale this up, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, okay, fine, let's try it. Let's find out, right? So yes, the photo this morning was, we started experimenting with, and again, there's a benefit when you come in and you don't know what you don't know, right? And you're like, I'm just gonna try this. And everyone's like, well, that's dumb. You're like, well, but I don't know it's dumb.
Your older relatives are tolerating you?
Oh my gosh. Thankfully, most of them are dead, so it's kind of, they're rolling in their graves right now watching me. But they don't know. I mean, I didn't know that you can't, like, when I was like, well, why are we planting this corn so close? Can we plant it further apart so we can plant the cover crop in between? Because the problem we were having is the growing season's so short. So we couldn't get a cover crop in after they took out the corn or the soybeans, because it's just, then it freezes right away.
Right.
So I was like, well, let's get it growing while the corn is going. And they said, well, it's too shady. And I said, well, then plant it further apart. Twice the population. They went, it's not gonna work. Guess what? It worked.
What is the crop that is between the
That's
corn?
a 16 species cover crop.
Wow.
So the whole idea is that we're bringing in the biodiversity, same idea we talk about in the book, but just on a much bigger scale. Bringing in the diversity, which is the soil health, the microbial populations, all of that stuff. But it also opens up a lot of options on the farm. So like one of the things we're playing with now, because like soybeans are doing terribly. I mean, corn isn't doing great either. But is that they could potentially do a corn-on-corn system because there's such a big space in between the corn rows. Now they can shift everything over and plant it into where the cover crop was the year before. And so there's still way more biodiversity on that system because we brought in 16 new species
So it's a way
than
of
there was before.
rotating crops too then.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would love to totally flip that system on its ear and be like, we're going oats, we're going perennial wheat out there. But what I think is more important right now is to show conventional farmers that are used to corn and soybean rotations that there's a way to do it differently that's not going to bankrupt them. And it's great right now because like costs, just like for all of us, costs for farmers are like crazy. So they're trying to limit their inputs any way they can. So all the stuff we talk about in the book.
They're kind of open to it now.
Yeah, because they have to be.
Wow. And what is that farm is not Blossom and Branch. It's got a different name.
We call that, my dad and I call it the Selstad landing field farm.
Okay.
Because his dad had a airplane, little landing strip there for his airplane. And
People used to do that, landing
they had
cornfields.
their little airplane, and so we call it landing field
Wow.
farm. Yep.
So that's the future chapter.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to see what you do with that.
Yeah, just pivoting back and forth between Minnesota and Colorado.
When it gets too hot in Colorado, you go up to Minnesota.
Yeah, and it gets, oh my gosh, the humidity up there though. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are wildly different growing climates, but that's been really helpful just because a lot of people are in, totally different climates. So for me to be able to say, okay, I know the problems you're dealing with are much different.
Yes, your audience now can learn from you and with different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. And I really appreciate the audience. I will say we've got these great swag bags from our new sponsor, My Patio Tree, and thank them. And then there's a little sachet, what is it? A little vial of lavender from Charles Little and Company from their lavender still. And a few
from
other
their
things.
still.
Yeah, they have a still. And Eugene, yeah. So thank you. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Deborah.
All right, we'll see you
Be
soon.
back soon.
Back for a new chapter.
Yes, next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.